There's 5 participants.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call to order this public hearing for Thursday, March 24th at 6:30 p.m. I would like to acknowledge that with respect that we are meeting on the traditional territory of the Lekwungen speaking people, and we are honored to have the opportunity to build strong working relationships with the people of the Songhees and the Esquimalt nations. 2, opening statement. This public hearing is convened pursuant to Section 465 of the Local Government Act to allow any person who believes their interest is affected by the proposed bylaw be given an opportunity to be heard or present written submissions. Council's role at a public hearing is to listen to the public and will not answer questions or debate proposals or proposed bylaws except to provide clarification. To conduct this process in a fair and equitable way, following the public hearing, no submissions in any form from the public or the applicant regarding the amendments will be heard or received, and there will be no other opportunity to speak to the bylaw. Your opportunity is now. 3, zoning bylaw amendments. This is bylaw number 1919 CD 22 3460 and 3461 Veterans Memorial Parkway. Senior Planner Yasmin Hernandez will introduce the proposed bylaw and invite the applicant to provide the presentation. Ms. Hernandez.
The general purpose of bylaw 1919 is to amend the Comprehensive Development Zone CD 22 and Colwood's land use bylaw number 151, 1989 to enable 2 6-story apartment buildings with a total of 180 residential units at 3460 Veterans Memorial Parkway and to allow for 2 6-story mixed-use buildings with a total of 100 residential dwelling units and up to 1,394 square meters of commercial gross floor area at 3461 Veterans Memorial Parkway. The notification period for a public hearing on this bylaw stretched from February 18th until today. During this time, the public hearing binder was available by appointment at the front counter and was provided digitally on the city's website. Newspaper notices advertising the public hearing were placed in the Gulfstream Gazette on February 23rd and March 2nd in advance of a public hearing originally scheduled for March 8th, 2022. Due to technical difficulties, the March 8th public hearing was rescheduled to today, and newspaper notices were placed in the Time Colonist on March 17th and March 18th. Neighborhood notices were also sent to 25 properties located within 75 meters of the subject properties, advertising both for the March 8th public hearing and subsequently advertising for today's public hearing. We have received 24 written submissions to date, and the applicant is also here in attendance and will be making a brief presentation tonight.
Mr. Mayor, I think it's working. Mr. Mayor, members of council, my name is Dean Strongatharm. I am a community planner and also provide coordinating services for this application. With me this evening, in terms of some of the project team, is the project owners, Perry and G.S. Aurelia. Also the project architect, Michael Moody, our civil engineer, Mike Acton, and our project architect, Brad Forth. What I'd like to do is to go through a series of slides, both I think the background reports provided by staff and previous submissions to Mayor and Council, I think give you a pretty good idea of what this is about, but we want to go through and highlight this for you. I think with that, I'll have to use the clicker. The one thing I do would also ask or add that I apologize for having the meeting today because I know the soccer game starts in about 20 minutes and I'm missing it. But carrying forward, hopefully get the right one. So it's really very simple. Am I being too loud? Is it fine? Okay, I'm sorry.
Sorry, can the audience hear him? Sometimes we have a problem with that.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Our objectives are really pretty simple. Number one, obviously, achieving harmony with the OCP, which we'll go into very briefly in a moment. There is a dire need for housing, and while this may be a small contribution in the total scheme of things, we do think it's a very important contribution in terms of adding to the mix of housing in Colwood. And finally, to build not only a high quality building, but also key in terms of much of the work that's gone on over the past 2 years and more is related to environmental sustainability, recognition of public amenity, and provision of the kinds of things that would be attractive to and add to the community of Colwood. I won't go through the list of these things. But I do say that I think it's important to start at the outset that throughout the process, I compliment staff in terms of working through the process from where this first started. There were multiple more buildings on the project when it first, or the site, I should say, when it first started out. There wasn't as many considerations for site adaptive principles. There were a lot of things that were worked through as a result of the process that has taken place. I think that one of the things that was important in terms of looking at the process is that there are 4 things I'd really like to comment on. Number one, I think it provides for long-term protection of the environmentally sensitive areas within the site, both on the east and or the west side of the site. It does cluster the development. and it's located, the siting of the buildings are located in the least destructive or the least environmentally sensitive areas. There is the provision of numerous amenities, which I think complement both Havenwood Park and add to Havenwood Park, and are a complement to that, and adds to the community amenity. And then lastly, in terms of housing, it is a form of housing which perhaps is not as much of in Colwood as there may be elsewhere. And I think it's important from a community planning objective. And therefore, when you look at kind of the main things, we are achieving an FSR, of about 1.201. It is compared to single family dwelling, higher density. But I think if you look at any place where there are major parks, and we look at Havenwood Park as being a very important park to the district of city of Colwood, and we do think that in fact having this form of housing and the density that's being proposed placed in a site adaptive way is very complementary, and the two go hand in hand. And again, I won't go through the balance of this, but basically we have made a serious attempt to ensure that we are following all planning principles. I just would like to say, I would have repeated, is that, you know, there are a number of statements that made recently. We all know about the quote housing crisis, and that is whether it's for home ownership or rental, and it is an extremely serious situation. We are proposing 280 new residential units, and part of that commitment is that all the units on the east side, which represents 100 units, would be guaranteed by way of covenant for a minimum of 10 years, as well as that there would be a covenant placed on all of the land that no future strata council could restrict rental. And I think this is important given the CMHC study, which just came out a month ago, which indicated that actually the Western communities has the lowest rental vacancy rate of anywhere in the region at 0.04%. The only reason for bringing this up is that I've been involved in many projects over regrettably many years. And when you look on the left-hand side at the list of studies that have been done in terms of coming up with the proposal that is before you this evening, and as importantly, the list of consultants and the range of technical consultants that were involved in this, I think it's fair to say that the owners have, quote, done their homework, again, at the encouragement of Colwood and Colwood staff. And so I just think it's important to recognize the process that's been gone through in terms of the consultation process. Unfortunately, I can't point, but this is really the culmination in terms of the overall plan. I think what you can see is on the west side is the major wetland. There is 7 conservation areas or restoration areas, which I'll go through very quickly. Each one of them been thought through, and with that has included our environmental consultants, our landscape architects, our forestry consultants, our arborist consultants, and civil engineers. So it has been very well thought through, both in the term of the restoration of the area around the wetlands and also the riparian areas along Victoria Creek, as well as the public amenities, which I really can't point to, but which includes pathways, observation points, pedestrian areas, connection around the Havenwood Park, and removal of some of the trails that were actually impacting the riparian areas of the creek, and as well as multiple others. I won't go through everything, but as I say, every single area has been identified. There's been a number of trees that have been identified that need look at in terms of a conservation. Conservation area 2 includes, that is part of Havenwood Park. And believe me, we are at no interest whatsoever to try to attempt to do anything other than what is the proper thing in conservation 2. After all, it's not the owner's property, but it is based upon the science of our consultants. And so what we want to do and what we have committed to is to work with the folks from Havenwood Park on that conservation area 2. And in that regard, within the last month, we've had some conversations with both the TLC and Habitat Acquisition Trust. And we have committed to work with them and in talking with the Hat, that they will take the lead role in terms of the future consultation and implementation of a plan supported by the other stakeholders related to that. But I just wanted to make sure that this is as a result of the experts saying that the science says that there can be work done on this area of Havenwood Park for its future betterment. And once again, I won't go through this other than to say every single area already has been identified where there can be additional vegetation and an enhancement to improve this, not only the aesthetics, but the actual natural environment. This is actually restoration area 4, which is actually on the north side of the west side property, and closest to Resolution Way and Hopwood. Once again, one of the things here is that this is really to provide a sensitive buffer and to make sure that there is an ample, as I say, buffer area and natural landscape between the existing housing development at Resolution Way and the subject property. And I'll go more into that a little bit more later. Again, I won't go into this a great deal of detail, and it's difficult to see on this plan, but this is, let's say, the culmination of aquitects, our environmental biologists providing input into what should be planted, what should be restored, what needs to be enhanced, and what should be removed. And all of this goes to the science that has been provided to us. Similarly, this is actually on the east side lands, and the one comment I would make just in terms of the access into the east side lands, which you can see 3/4 of the way up on the slide, that was also identified in consultation with aquitects, and we had Patrick Lucy out there identifying what would be the least impactful location along that south side, I guess, of Veterans Memorial Parkway in terms of access to that portion of the lands. Once again, a lot of work has gone, and you can see actually part of the trail off on the left-hand side of my screen, which actually is rerouting that trail because the pathway currently is right adjacent to right at the marshland and within the riparian boundary. And so the whole attempt here is actually to maintain the access for public enjoyment, but to get it out of the more sensitive riparian areas. One of the things that I think was came up last time in terms of, well, gosh, this is an awfully lot of development given what the current zoning is. And again, I certainly don't want to put words in the staff's mouth. But when we looked at what the current zoning is and looked what the proposal is, and we looked at site adaptive planning, and we had our project architect do as capable a job as he could just in terms of locating the proposed subdivision compared to what is now proposed. And it is a staggering difference. And if I could digress just for a second, within the last 2 weeks, I was a completely different property. I was presented with a proposal to do a conventional standard subdivision on land, as I say, nothing to do with this at all. And to be candid, I was actually pretty mortified of the fact that literally 95% of the land was going to be toast. And so I said to him, I think there's probably a better way. So I think it's important to actually identify this. And I think the next slide, again, will show the left-hand slide is a 1997 photo, which before there was any development that took place. You can see that the two lower parts are identical in terms of what's being proposed. And then you can see a slide that was taken in 2022. And I think it does show that you can achieve site adaptive planning, increase the density, and actually have a much healthier environment. As it relates to Resolution Way and Hopwood, we are proposing that the current zone would allow a setback from the property line of 1.5 meters, in fact, 1.2 meters. The setback on that north side of the property is actually, as proposed, is 16.6, I think it is, meters. And so you can just see the difference on the left side, what the zoning by would currently permit and what is being proposed. And then also, I think as importantly, is actually the extent of the destruction of the actual landscape. And you can see outlined in red the area of blasting and where that would occur as it's going down the hill to I guess that's to the south. And I do think that's important. As it relates to road improvements and other off-site improvements, what we will be doing is all the road along the frontage of Veterans Memorial Parkway will all be redone. There'll be 2 full lanes going either way, center median, or separated bike lane, a boulevard area and sidewalks. All of that will be part of the developer's responsibility, and that will go to obviously the long-term improvements to Veterans Memorial Parkway that the city has been working on. In addition, and over and above this, of course, there is the sewer line in particular will also be replaced and go all the way back, all the way down to Latoria. And so there's a significant investment in upgrading its Hallmark sewer line, which will all form part of this improvement. And then actually, I would just like the architect to come forward, just give a very brief description of the actual buildings themselves.
Good evening. So although we're going through rezoning, I don't want to get too far into the actual design of it, but as mentioned previously by Dean, our first and foremost priority was in the design process was to respect the sensitive ecological aspects of the site, which encompass the riparian areas, setbacks, the hillside ecological assessment areas, wind-throw assessment, and all while negotiating the specific contours and minimizing the development footprint by going higher and densifying. So we've designed the buildings on the west and the east sides to respond to the unique typology that each side has with the different programmatic requirements, while trying to maintain a consistent architectural expression which ties the 2 sides together into a single cohesive community. The 4 buildings actually share very common themes. You'll see that they all have a very linear form, much like a contour on the land, which is much more organic with its natural surroundings. And the materials that we chose were inspired by the park-like setting and really encompass what we all know of the iconic West Coast style. Now on the west side, which I call the more introverted of the 2, the buildings encompass a central plaza area, which includes an outdoor dining area. It has a park area for children, and it has a water feature that's connected with the water retention pond, which is on the side of the natural rock face. And building A, which is closest to the park or to the wetlands, has an open corridor through it, which allows people to get onto the trail system and go to Havenwood or the rest of the trail system. On the east side, what I call it more extroverted. The buildings open up towards the west, and so everybody has a great view of the park. It has an upper plaza level, which has grassed areas, potted trees, and a water feature that actually cascades down to the level below into a pond. And surrounding that pond is a circular area that on that level we have the retail areas, which could include a restaurant, a coffee bar, perhaps doctor's offices, and maybe if the will's there, a daycare. I think I'm going to wrap it up there. We spent a lot of time. There's a lot of people here that are very, very into this project, and we think it's going to make an amazing contribution to Colwood. Thank you.
In closing, I'd just like to say one last comment and a quick little presentation. I won't again list this, but some of the benefits include basically 62% of the entire land area, both on west and on the east side of the properties being dedicated as park. There is, in terms of new trails, public trails, there is a total of 942 meters of public trail. That's combined on both the west and the east side. Included, there will be obviously other major enhancement from a riparian point of view and vegetation point of view. There will be benefits in terms of the observation desk that is committed to, and also a rather expensive, but a bridge along the north side of the property as it right fronts onto where Resolution Way ends as a cul-de-sac, so that there is connectivity, and so you're not going out one way and coming back. There's a linear connectivity, as well as obviously major improvements to VMP Road, as I've mentioned, sewer upgrades. And again, approximately our estimate is about $810,000 in new property tax revenue, just under $1 million worth of DCCs, and about $810,000 worth of building permit fees. So I think in closing, we think we've done a very good job. And as I say, I would just like to end, if I can do this. Now what do I do? It won't work. This is way beyond me. Apparently it's going to work. I think this is about 1 minute and 20 seconds. Oh, we're back to the original. Oh. Yeah, there is no sound. This is, again, the east side lands looking in. West side, actually. Yeah, this is the west side lands. And that's it. Thank you. That was the east side lens. Thank you very much. That ends our presentation.
Thank you. So we are now going to seek public input. You will not be discouraged from making your views known. However, it is important that you restrict your remarks to the matters contained in the proposed bylaw. The following rules will apply to public input. No sound recordings or PowerPoint presentations will be presented. Those in attendance will refrain from applause or other expressions of emotion, whether in favor or opposed to the applicant or arguments. Inappropriate language, outbursts, or criticisms aimed at individuals or groups will not be permitted. A speaker will not debate a point of view with another speaker, but will seek clarification through the chair. I'm going to hand it off to staff in a moment, but it's a little different than what a council meeting. At a council meeting, during public participation, you basically have 2 minutes and you only get to speak once. During public hearing, you're going to have 5 minutes. We are going to be strict on the 5 minutes, so you're going to get you're going to hear in a minute that you'll get a warning. When your 5 minutes is up, the mic will be turned off. However, you are allowed to come up and speak as many times as you like. So what I would encourage you to do is, if you have something written and it's more than 5 minutes long, then just mark where you've stopped, and then you can come up after everybody's had the first opportunity. The reason we do this is so that everybody in the crowd has an opportunity to speak, and that not one person speaks for an hour before allowing the second person to speak. So that's where we're at. I'm going to hand it off to Amanda now.
Okay, so tonight we're going to alternate between in-person and virtual speakers. So if you're attending electronically and wish to be put into the queue to speak, please raise your virtual hand if you're on the Zoom app, or press *9 if you are attending by telephone. For those who are calling in, you'll be identified by the last 3 digits of your phone number. And if you're coming in on the Zoom app, we'll identify you by the name you've come in with. We ask that you keep your comments to 5 minutes. At the 4-minute mark, you'll be notified that you have 1 more minute. When the 5 minutes expires, the sound will go off and you will be muted, and we'll move on to the next. When everyone has had a chance to speak for the first time, a second call will be made, and those who wish to do so may present additional or new information. We ask those who speak to provide their name, address, and indicate whether they are in favor or opposed to the proposed amendment. Thank you. We're going to start with the floor in the room. So if there's someone that wants to come ahead. Great, thank you.
My name is Carol Brown, representing Friends of Havenwood Park, and I appear before you once again as you make this important decision on the development proposal beside Havenwood Park. Friends of Havenwood Park have a community seat on the management committee of Havenwood Park. Havenwood, purchased by the city in 2002, is a 40-acre natural park with sensitive bedrock outcroppings, Gary Oak meadows, and wetlands that form part of the Latoria Creek watershed. It is a jewel of Colwood parks and worthy of protection. Both Habitat Acquisition Trust and the Land Conservancy are covenant holders for this reason. Friends of Havenwood's concerns center around the proposed zoning changes on this property from 21 single-family homes to 280 apartment units, and the effects that this will likely have on the park. Our concerns include the likelihood of increased human traffic in sensitive areas of the park, congestion from on-site commercial businesses, increased noise levels from the above, changes to water hydrology in the park due
to deep level blasting. Ad hoc trails made by hundreds of new residents. Loss of wind buffer zones to protect the park trees. Changes to vegetation due to more intense shading in places that haven't been shaded before in that degree. Increased bird strikes and the reduction of wildlife corridors. Recommendation number 36 of the 2005 Havenwood Park Management Plan recommended that the city, quote, acquire additional land adjacent to Havenwood Park to preserve and enhance the environmental and recreational value of the park for future residents, end of quote. Unfortunately, this ship has sailed. Now, we need to decide if this rezoning application is in keeping with the management plan recommendation for Havenwood's protection. We should also be aware that the extra meters offered by the developer adjacent to the park boundary will not be as significant as one might think, as many of the tall trees in these meters are slated to be topped, removed, or dealt with in some way by the developer and replaced with smaller trees. Any tree canopy advantage from the extra meters will be diminished with these trees removed or altered. Many Colwood residents have signed a petition asking council not to proceed with the rezoning, yet some have asked you to accept it based on pressure for housing and density. And density at the right place is a good thing.
1 minute warning.
This is not a good place for density. Did I get the 5 minutes? Oh, thank you. Well-placed density works towards a sustainable environment. Most important, it needs close proximity to transportation and service hubs to work effectively. These hubs can be found in areas such as Colwood Corners, parts of Soup Road, or Royal Bay. Anyone driving through Royal Bay and Colwood Corners today can see that Colwood is working on providing its fair share of housing now and for the future. The land beside Havenwood is not a service and transportation hub, and therefore not a place for high density. Building this of this size will forever change the nature of the park.
5
We
minutes is
know
up.
Thank you.
So we will have Gabrielle introduce the next speaker who's online.
Thank you. So I'll have the phone number ending in 614 may now speak. So press *6 to unmute yourself. You have 5 minutes. Again, please state your name, street address, and whether you are in favor or opposed to the proposed rezoning. Again, that's *6 to unmute yourself. Phone
Hello.
number ending 614.
No.
That doesn't look like it's working. Let's try phone number ending 457. Could you please unmute yourself by pressing *6?
Good evening. Good evening. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Good evening, Your Worship, councillors, and a member of the public. My name is Chris Weiser. I work as a land protection coordinator for Habitat Acquisition Trust. We're on 661 Burnside Road. Just here to speak for a few minutes tonight. You may remember me. I spoke, I believe, at the last bylaw rezoning a few weeks ago now. To be honest with you, my message hasn't changed since that time, but given the importance of tonight's hearing, and I suppose for posterity reasons, I just wanted to show up again and make two what I think
I'm sorry to interrupt.
two relatively.
Would you mind just speaking closer? We're just having a bit of a difficult time hearing you.
Sure thing. Sorry, Your Worship. Is that any better? Is that any better, Your Worship?
Not really, but well, we keep going and hopefully we'll be able to hear you.
Okay, I apologize for that. If it is, please let me know and I can call in on a different phone. Like I said, Chris, Land Protection Coordinator from Habitat Acquisition Trust. I just wanted to make 2 points tonight that I've made previously, but wanted to make again with regards to the covenant. As folks may know, Habitat Acquisition Trust is one of 2 covenant holders on the covenant on Havenwood Park. And just the first point I wanted to make tonight is regardless of what land use decision Colwood chooses to make now or in the future, it's our expectation that the restrictions imposed by the covenant on Havenwood Park are upheld. Certainly, I'm not going to go through all of those restrictions tonight, but among them certainly are the provision for tree retention in the park, as well as biodiversity retention and even enhancement. I think at HAT we feel very lucky to have a very positive relationship with city staff and Parks and Recreation staff, as well as the Friends of Havenwood Park. We're interested, of course, in preserving the integrity of the covenant, and we have no reason to suspect that wouldn't change. That's certainly been the case over all of the years we've been lucky enough to hold this covenant. But I wanted to reiterate that that's our formal organizational position, and to provide that information for members of council and for the public as well. That's the first point, Your Worship, that I wanted to make. The second is that we've been very happy, to receive updates from numerous sources over the course of this project. We've received updates from city staff. We've received updates from members of the public. We've even received an update from the developer as this has progressed. But I do just want to clarify what HAT has and has not been asked to do, and on the back of that, what we have and haven't committed to, both because I've received questions from members of the public, and also just on the back of some of the lead-in comments from the consultation, or pardon me, from the presentation tonight. And I want to be clear that while we've been very happy to receive updates, we haven't been asked or formally referred for any sort of consultation or given an opinion on any proposed development or any potential impacts on the covenant. My commitment, certainly, and I've said this to members of the public, I've said this to the developer during our update, is that when and if we are, brought in as an organization into a more formal role for a referral or to provide, an opinion on any potential impacts to the covenant, we'll be happy to engage that process. We'll be happy to do our due diligence. But I just want to clarify and confirm for council and for members of the public that to this point, we haven't, as an organization, committed to any specific course of action other than, to engage if and when we are asked to. I also just want to be clear that while we're one of the covenant holders, TLC also is a co-covenant holder, and they would need to be engaged as well if and down the road. I'm sure Mr. Strongenharm, he knows this, and I have confidence in that. And the reason I have confidence in that is because I told him that directly during our update, and he said he understood. But I just wanted to provide that clarity for members of the public and for council and Your Worship as well. Those are the 2 points I wanted to make tonight. I'm grateful to have spoken, and I hope you've been able to hear me okay. I understand that this process may go on for several more hours. I'll be able to stay on the phone for about another half an hour to an hour here and listen. And I look forward to catching the rest of the discussion online in the office tomorrow. Thank you for your time.
Great, thank you.
Okay, so we can take the next person from the floor who'd like to speak. Okay, sorry. Good evening, Mayor and members of council. My name is Kim Jordison, and I live at 3429 Hopwood Place. I am opposed to the rezoning
proposal at 3460 and 3461 Veterans Memorial Parkway. First off, I just wanted to say that I've looked through the letters that were appended to the agenda for tonight's public hearing, and my comment is that this isn't about the type of homes this developer builds. It's not about whether he's honest, kind, or friendly. This is about a piece of property and what's best to be built on that.
Sorry,
property.
Kim, I'm sorry to interrupt. Could you just move your mic a little closer?
So you want me to do that
No,
the whole meeting? Okay. Okay, sorry. Do you want me to start over? Okay, I just want to say that basically it's not about the developer and the type of homes he builds. It's not about whether he's honest, friendly, or kind. It's not a popularity contest. There are many wonderful developers and builders in the city that all do great work. This is about a piece of property and what's best to be built on that property. Second, I just want to make one comment that I think anybody that's calling into these meetings or providing correspondence should either have their name or their address on it, or it shouldn't be appended to the agenda. Monkey, somebody that left their information. I mean, anybody can write in and write dozens of letters and not sign them. So we have to be smart when it comes to what we put into the packages. So onto my letter. I strongly believe the development of such high-density, large-scale buildings as currently proposed will compromise the ecological integrity of Havenwood Park. Developing so close next to Havenwood Park will put this natural park in jeopardy. West Shore residents feel strongly that this park should be protected. The city is responsible for stewardship of all parks. This park was intended to be a natural park and not a high-use recreational park. Habitat Acquisition Trust and the Land Conservancy, they've rejected this development. As covenant owners of Havenwood, why is city staff and council ignoring what they're telling you? Not one report provided by experts has given any guarantees that Havenwood Park will live through the destruction next to it. Not one. And no independent studies have been done by the city to prove otherwise. The development is not at all in the spirit of the official community plan. Where it states once in the OCP that low-rise buildings of more than 6-story buildings can be built, it also states in very limited situations and only where significant environmental benefits can be achieved. And nowhere does it ever imply that such a development next to a natural park would be a good thing. There are many other locations along Veterans Memorial Parkway for such a development. Let's make no mistake, this development is not going to provide affordable housing, as stated on page 1 of the applicant's presentation. If the developer's plan was to provide affordable housing, where is such proposal? This isn't even the right location for affordable housing. Also in the applicant's presentation, they allude to the housing need from the province's perspective, yet they still don't provide any substance as to how they consider development affordable. I'm afraid the term affordable housing is just all smoke and mirrors by this developer and his consultant. In regards to rental housing, which I think our city does greatly need, they are now only offering 100 of the 280 units as rentals, in which it was previously stated that all 280 would be rentals. Today, it's only 1/3. What's it going to be next week? The fact of the matter is that this development will disturb the natural biodiversity and ecosystem of Havenwood Park, so condos can be built so only the affluent can afford.
1 minute warning.
This development will also greatly affect traffic on the already congested Veterans Memorial Parkway and introduce ridiculous one-way traffic in and out development on both sides of VMP, adding more congestion to the already overpriced and oversized roundabout proposed at Latoria VMP. Let me say it for the record, there will be accidents, especially at the park entrance and pedestrian crosswalk. It's unavoidable. And lastly, there's been no compromise in what should be built next to the park with the adjoining neighborhoods, no engagement, nothing. The first mistake was made back in 2014 when council rezoned Wishart Road from rural to comprehensive development. This land should have been protected. Let's stop and pause and not make any further mistakes. Mayor and Council, I urge you to please vote this development down so proper engagement with the community can occur.
with the developer in reaching a compromise in keeping with the official community plan. It doesn't have to be 21 homes or 6-story buildings. Thank you.
So I'd like to introduce phone number ending in 614 again. Like to, if you can press *6 to unmute yourself.
Hello, am I unmuted?
We can hear you. Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you. My name is Tom Pierce. I live at 539 Delora Drive, and I'm speaking in favor of this proposal.
I'm sorry, I'm gonna interrupt you as well. If there's any possible way that you could speak closer to the mic or a little louder, just for the room. That'd be
Okay.
great.
Certainly. Is this any better?
Yes, thank you.
Good. This is about the best I can get. Okay, I'm in favor of this development. I do believe that it does fill a much needed gap of housing in our city. The proposed rezoning change, I do believe, will be a positive move forward for the city of Colwood. The location on Veterans Memorial Parkway is already a location that is a busy road and a high use area. And with the proposed development in this location, I don't think it traffic-wise is going to bother other neighborhoods and quiet residential streets. One thing I would like to say is I think we must ensure that the college staff ensure that the proposed plan is followed as presented, so that we don't make any of these compromises to the park that some people are having concerns about. So that if the plan is followed as presented and all the precautions are taken, I believe this is a positive move forward. Thank you very much for your time and allowing me to speak.
Okay, we'll take the next person from the floor, please.
Thank you, Mayor, Council, for allowing us the opportunity to speak to this issue. Gibbs Small, 614 Grand Rose Terrace, right on the other side of Havenwood Park. And I will say that I am opposed to the bylaw change as currently presented. I'm going to focus my speaking on what I think is one of the most important issues, and that is traffic safety. There are some issues in regards to the present proposal that I think are going to cause some huge concerns, maybe not today, but in the very near future, unless some changes are made to the traffic planning. I want to start by quoting Colwood's OCP policy 8265 on intersection improvements, where it simply says that the goal is to enhance the safety of drivers, pedestrians, cyclists by reducing the potential for conflict and improving upon the efficiency of each of their respective movements at intersections. I know that the developers have paid Watt to do a traffic analysis. And in reading through that traffic analysis, I came up with some huge concerns. They did not do a traffic count for this proposal. They relied on the traffic counts were done for the previous Royal Bay proposal. Those traffic counts were done in 2019. I don't think there's anybody here, council included, that can stand up and say that the traffic has stayed the same or decreased on Veterans or in any of the areas around the Latoria Walk since then. If anything, I know I live there, traffic has increased greatly. There's also an issue with some of the areas that were included in this traffic study. And I have a copy of the study here. One of the issues that I have is in the 20-year proposal, they talk about the areas that they were considering in relation to the potential future traffic study. And they said that the areas, I'm sorry, I've got a bunch of things marked here. For the long-term analysis, the background volumes reflect all potential developments: Royal Bay, Royal Beach, Olympic View, Latoria Road area, and Allendale in the area of Colwood, south of Souk and between Machosen Road and VMP. There was absolutely, according to their report, no indication of the future traffic changes being brought from Latoria Road to Happy Valley and vice versa. And of course, there's a ton of development going on there, not just in Colwood, but in Langford. So according to them, that wasn't even taken into consideration in their long-term plan. What one of my biggest concerns is in the traffic study itself, they proposed a single intersection, not offset the way the proposal the developer has put forward for the traffic in and out both of the east and the west. They said at this point in time, they don't feel that a lighted intersection is required, but may be down the road. The problem is if you go with offset, you will never be able to change that to a lighted intersection if in fact the traffic volumes get to the point. So you're handcuffing yourself. That won't ever be able to be changed. The other thing it brings up is the issue of within 150-meter space, you have 3 traffic congestion points. One for the right turn out of one for the right turn out of the other, and pedestrian crosswalk that's already there for Havenwood Park. Within 150 meters, 3 traffic confluence points is dangerous. It is just too much traffic, too many changes, too many things for people to take a look at. I don't like
1 minute warning.
Thank you. I don't like the idea of right turn only in and out. And in their report, they actually show that for right turn pulling out of the east side to be able to head west or south, they're recommending that that traffic be diverted down through Cairndale and Wishart Road. We all know that what's going to happen. People are people. They're going to find the easiest way, and you are going to see an absolute increase in the U-turns on veterans, whether it's 2-lane or 4. And that is dangerous. I don't think there's been enough concern placed onto the traffic, and I implore council to not place a higher priority on the increased density at the expense of the safety for the citizens of this community and the others that drive through. Thank you again for the time.
Thank you. So I have 2 phone numbers ending in 474. So I'm just going to ask one to unmute. Here, you should get a notification that you've been unmuted.
Hello?
We can hear you. Thank you.
Perfect. Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Carson, and I live in Colwood. I just wanted to come out and speak in support of the project tonight for a couple of reasons. Mainly, I'm speaking from the perspective of someone who's moved to this city in 2020 from Edmonton, actually. And I found that over the last couple of years, it's been incredibly challenging to basically find a place to live and rent. But beyond rental, the prospects of ownership for me in this city just seem to be kind of evaporating on a daily basis with the direction that I guess the cost of housing is gone. So many of the houses within Colwood that I've kind of been watching over the last, I guess, 2 years have gone from 700 to 900,000 to 1.4 million. And in a lot of cases, you know, the realities of home ownership are kind of beyond me. And it's looking more and more like probably going to end up being a condo owner, if anything, while being a renter at the moment. And I think if you basically speak to anyone, younger people or lower or middle class within our communities, I think the story is the same, is that housing is really a crisis across the region. And CMHC has indicated that within Colwood, our vacancy rate is 0.4%, right? I challenge any of you to go on a rental website tonight and try and find a place to rent within Colwood or many of the surrounding regions. So there's many of us who are going to continue to have to be renters within our communities, just given the cost of housing, and essentially have been priced out, at least for the short-term future, until maybe we can kind of catch up with where things have gone. So I'm primarily in support of just adding more product of any type, both on the rental side and on the condo side. I think that any volume of housing will positively contribute to the problems that we're having in our communities, and ultimately provide housing for, you know, new residents who are coming into the communities as well, and not just giving priority to, you know, existing residents of our communities, because we want to live here too, and we want to be in your communities, and we want to run your businesses and be your baristas and be your nurses and play those roles in your community, which are important. And secondly, I support the project as well, just from an environmental standpoint. You know, I'm like anyone else. I don't want to see, you know, forests being clear cut like up on Bear Mountain in order to deliver housing to communities. And ultimately, you know, if there needs to be greenfield development, I like the idea of seeing density being built, because ultimately you're fitting as many housing units within a site as possible, which is not only better from a net environmental impact on the site itself, but people living within this type of density, they have a much lower carbon impact than raising this forest and building a bunch of single family houses. And the science on that is absolute, right? As a municipality and as a city, we should be trying to take steps to reduce the net carbon impact of the individuals within it and provide additional housing. So yeah, I'm in strong support of the project. I think that we need to continue to do more to address housing needs in the region. And I think density is one of the best ways for us to do that. And it seems like BC Alpha is putting together a great project here where they're going to be able to address some of the other environmental concerns by, you know, building an energy efficient building and including solar panels and the like. So that's, sorry, my address, I forgot to mention, it's 284 Belmont Road, and I'm in support of the project. Thank you very much, Council.
Okay, so we'll take the next speaker from the floor in the room.
Oh, I'm sorry. Could you just hit the red button? Oh, I'm sorry. Just there you go.
Make it red. Yeah, I'm Dr. Jerry Kelly, address 816 Glassview Lane, overlooking these developments that we're talking about. Thank the Colwood Council for the demanding work that you do, making this our community of choice. We also applaud the past Colwood City Councils whose long-term vision preserved, but not all, of the forest in Havenwood Park. By protecting the small but critical remaining piece of the Havenwood Park, this council now has the opportunity to finish the job. The very term haven cries out to us. The pandemic helped us to realize how important a haven is to relax and enjoy nature. Psychologists say nothing is healthier than a peaceful walk in a park like Ravenwood. Exactly what hundreds of Colwood people do almost daily. Unfortunately, instead of marveling at nature and relaxing forests, just a few steps from a 6-story building and others could cast their shadows forever on what used to be a life-enriching Havenwood Park. Yes, council has a challenging task, balancing budgets and weighing competing issues in our community, but an increase in taxes from the new development in the gravel pit would be very small in comparison to what the revenue will be coming from that development. So I'm hesitant to use the L word in these chambers, but when developers were going to demolish a forest-butting Mill Hill Park in Langford, the council immediately bought the land to preserve the integrity of this beautiful park. And no doubt our council is considered getting the remainder of Havenwood perhaps donated, or purchasing or swapping it for better development land at our expansive gravel pit. From our home on Triangle Mountain, for 2 decades, we've seen forests that took hundreds of years to grow, cut and bulldozed over a weekend. Imagine what your children and their grandchildren will think of council's action on this issue. You have the same vision the council before you had, but now you can finish the job by making Havenwood whole. Thank you very much.
Okay, I'll ask the other person attending electronically with the phone number ending in 474 to please unmute yourself by hitting *6.
Hi, my name is Michelle Elmy, and I live at 1915 Souk Road, and I'm here to speak in favor of the project. I came to speak tonight because we really badly need more housing options in Colwood. My husband and I recently moved back here because we wanted to be close to our family, and initially we were looking to buy, but there was really nothing available that wasn't a single family home that was way outside of our budgets. So we chose to rent our place instead. We had about 6 units total to choose from, and they were all at fairly high rents. We're lucky because we work remotely, and thankfully we have decent paying jobs that allow us to afford these rents, but most of the units on these markets are completely unaffordable to those that live and work in this community. And the current limited rental stock is, 1, forcing renters to take time off work to view places or rent them completely unseen, which was our case. 2, it allows landlords to operate outside the Tenancy Act because tenants aren't able to easily move. And 3, it will only continue to raise rents as we see huge population growth in this region. And the lack of current condo products is forcing my generation to remain renters and never be able to enjoy home ownership. The West Shore is one of the fastest growing areas of Victoria, and with current projections, we could increase up to 51% over the next 20 years. This growth really needs to be met with a significant increase in rental housing approvals. The rate at which we're approving and building rental product in our market will do nothing to support the growth. This project represents 280 units, both rental and condo, that we can add to our housing stock in the next 4 years or so, which will lower our costs for everyone, both for rental and purchase, and support our community growth. Additionally, this project really supports green initiatives with its built form. It's adding both solar and smart home technologies that can drastically reduce the environmental impact. The project is also going to give a large part of its park to site land. And I understand that there's a pushback from people who are worried about Havenwood Park, but there are ways to develop sustainably and meet our housing needs, but still protect existing green space. And I think this project really meets those needs and adds even more green space. But if we continue to say we want density, but not here, we're only going to make our housing crisis worse. So thank you for your time tonight and for allowing me to speak on behalf of this project.
Okay, so we can take the next person from the floor. Thank you.
Let's get this. I'm not as tall as the rest of people that have been up here. Mayor Martin, councillors, my name is Margaret Abercrombie Hutchin, and I reside at 3433 Hopwood Place. I oppose this development. As many of the speakers have talked tonight, we need to save Havenwood Park. Should those who believe that there will not be an impact on Havenwood Park, they are wrong. The covenant on title of Havenwood Park is in the hands of HAT and TLC. The covenant ensures that the cities of Colwood and Langford abide by the covenant. No Indigenous flora in Havenwood Park to be cut, removed, or tampered with. HAT and the TLC have opposed this development. The proposal plan will remove 50+ trees. In February 14th, actually, City Council, at a council meeting, Ms. Fernandez spoke to this. She explained that trees that were a hazard, a safety concern under the title of Havenwood Park can be cut down. I was in the park recently, and let me assure you, the council, let me assure you that there are no trees that I could see were a safety concern. The only way trees could be a safety concern is if this development proceeds. So it does impact Havenwood Park. There is a need for the city to respect the covenant on title of Havenwood Park and to be good stewards of the park. There have been many conversations during the council meetings talking about affordable housing. Many in council are delighted with this proposal as you feel it will provide this type of housing. Affordable housing should be in the city center that has the amenities to support this housing. In busing, stores for groceries, this type of thing. That's where affordable housing should be. Currently, this development in Aspen Landing is condos. Yes, the developer envisions covenants, but they are not required prior to the development vote. Therefore, council is voting strictly on condos, not rentals. This envisioned covenant, as was discussed earlier, is 100 rental units on the east side with mixed commercial and a 10-year requirement, and it also prohibits the future strata corporation. On the west side, it's 180 condos and prohibits a strata corporation. Why is there a reluctance on this developer's part to commit now before the final vote? The OCP allows consideration of low-rise, multi-unit residential development in land designated neighborhood hillside in a very limited situation where the density of no more than 6 stories where environmental and ecological benefits can be achieved. City planners clearly stated that there was no criteria to make this judgment. However, staff recommended to council that this development creates a significant environmental and ecological benefit. Who at City Hall currently has that expertise? No independent study by the city was completed. Who is going to ensure that tree removal and blasting is in accordance with the commitments indicated in this proposal? I also, too, want to talk about the traffic congestion and the crosswalk in the development will be unsafe and would like to state that this for the record, it is an accident waiting to happen. There have been many changes to this development. In the last update, Dean Strongtham, BC Alta's consultant, we now have 3-bedroom units on the east side, which are still condos, but envisioned to be rentals. I trust these units are within the 100 units that the city is looking at in this proposal. The developer will have to reduce the number of apartments in the rendering and not increase the units based upon 3-bedroom units. There should be a new rendering for this.
1 minute warning.
I'm finished. Thank you very much.
Okay, the phone number ending 013, please press *6 to unmute yourself.
Good evening, Your Worship and honorable council members. Thank you for this opportunity for me to speak. My name is Love Dodd, and I live in Victoria, BC, at 4584 Viewmont Avenue, postcode V8Z5L2. I am in favor of this proposal because of the short supply of rental units in our community. We operate a business in Victoria, but many of our employees live in the Western communities. Most of our employees can't find places close to work because of lack of land space to build on, and the rentals with no vacancies. I would like to share a quick story with you. We have an employee whose name is Corey White that works in our warehouse apartment. We had no idea Corey was sleeping in his car for 2 weeks until he shared the story with one of his coworkers. The coworker immediately came to me with the concern for Corey. Both my father and I started to help him look for a place to live, but had a very difficult time trying to find one. This is a person that has a full-time job and can afford to rent a place, but with a lack of supply, can't find one. Many of the job applicants that we receive in our business are out-of-town people. We are having a tough time filling these vacant positions because of the lack of places for them to live in. I am not the only business who has this problem in this community. There's many more that are having many applicants, but people who can't find places to live. Your Worship and honorable council members, you have the power to help put a roof over 280 families to tackle one of the worst crises we are facing today. The city and the island have endless opportunities for people who live here, but can pursue their dreams. But how can they pursue their dreams if one of the biggest stresses in life is to put a roof over you and your family's heads? Thank you for your time.
Okay, so can we take the next person from the room who would like to speak?
Oh, here. Perfect. Thank you very much. Actually, I have been listening whole speakers. It is great to hear also details because I don't know the details. I'm a newcomer. We have moved to Victoria 4 years ago, and I love Royal Bay area. I live in Royal Bay right now, and I don't think that just this park is an amazing entity. I mean, whole Victoria is a heaven. As a newcomer, it is a national park, whole Victoria. But on the other hand, there's a huge reality. I just want to share it also. Since I moved here, I had to change 2 houses because we had to rent. We didn't have permanent residency. I received my permanent residency, but right now the houses are incredible. The house that I am in is doubled right now. So there is no way to buy a house right now for the investment, also to be safe, because sometimes landlords want to sell their houses and you have to move. So I have been looking so many different options. This is one of the best option that one of my friends proposed me, a realtor friend. I didn't know whole this story. I'm surprised, by the way. But tell you the truth, I'm an architect, also landscape architect. And I have seen so many housing projects, and also I have designed. At the beginning, I was a believer of single housing. Right now, I believe in vertical housing, first of all, because the land that we put our buildings are less, and we affect the nature comparatively, of course, less. But, and that project was interesting for me because they offer a lifestyle. Of course, different housing types are perfect, but if it is a whole settlement offers you a lifestyle, it is an incredible value because it's a fast life, and we just need to be close to the nature, and our kids should commute to the school, and we should commute to the our jobs and all that kind of stuff. I'm so sad that, I mean, we have to build within the forest. It is sad, but the reality, one day or another day, we have to build something. And of course, I just need to look at this wind issues. I haven't checked that before. But on the other hand, I don't think this project is very, very high density project. And the reason that I like this project was the quality that project offers. There's a quality, and the traffic won't be affected because of just that project, and upcoming Royal Bay development would affect incredibly. I believe that it will be a, how do you say that, junction point. We won't be able to go through maybe. That should be all discussed. The roads should be discussed, everything. But in a minority, the whole problem is not just that project, that we can't blame a project because it has been sold years and years before. And of course, that should be a lot to be taught. But I don't think that project is not so scary as it is taught, I feel like, but I can't say anything because everybody has a history with that forest and everything. But in a fair way of looking, I have seen more brutal ones since I moved to here. So this is one of the very well settled projects. But of course, if it is not built, I will look somewhere else. And thank you for hearing me. And I love this community. I just want to share everything if I can. I don't know.
1-minute warning.
No. I think it is finished. My English is not perfect, but I really love that organization. Thank you for that wonderful public hearing too. Oh, Begüm Er Yılmaz, 451 Regency Place. I live very close to the area, and I had a chance to walk through, and the trail that they tried to protect was really respectful. I don't know whole detail actually, but what I have seen was quality and respect of nature, but I'm sure there are more to discuss. Good evening, thank you.
Thank you. I invite Beth Peterson to turn on your video and or unmute yourself.
Hello, my name is Elizabeth Peterson of 3262 Zapata Place. Thank you to Mayor and Council for the opportunity to speak with respect to this proposal. I oppose the development. The renderings of the buildings and the siting look beautiful, but I have to agree with the points made by previous speakers who oppose the development insofar as a negative environmental impact. And from reviewing the project materials, I understand that numerous mature trees will be cut down. Replanting is not a substitute for what will be lost. A significant buffer between any development and Havenwood Park is critical. And in my view, this proposal doesn't satisfy that. As well, I'm concerned of the increased park usage, which will degrade the park's sensitive habitat. While I do acknowledge that there is a need for more housing and projects that offer alternatives to single-family homes are critical, I'm really concerned about the trajectory in Colwood and more broadly in the West Shore, which is the approval of developments that result in significant loss of our forests, habitat, and biodiversity. And this is one such development. I really feel strongly there are so many areas of Colwood that are much better suited for densification without clear-cutting huge swaths of our forests. Thank you very much.
Okay, the next person in the room, if you would like to approach the podium.
I guess this is on, eh? Good evening. My name is John English. I live at 401 Proctor Place, and I'm here tonight speaking on behalf of the Royal Bay Homeowners Association. We're a group of residents that have been before you on many occasions, and one of the things that we want to be clear on is that we are a group that have always been supportive of responsible development and responsible development that's consistent with the OCP. And the OCP commits the city of Colwood to preserve, protect, and enhance cherished natural parks like Havenwood Park. How putting 6-story buildings right beside a natural park is consistent with that mandate beats the hell out of me because and my neighbors. So we think that approving this developer's request for changes to the OCP or bylaws or policies to enable them to build higher buildings and greater density right beside a cherished natural park in our city is completely irresponsible. It would clearly damage this cherished natural park and the quality of life for many Colwood citizens. The developer obviously has performed the necessary due diligence calculations to confirm that they could make a reasonable profit on their investment within the existing city's OCP, within the existing city's bylaws, and within the existing policies that the city has. They did this before they bought the property. Any responsible developer does that. So this proposal simply shows that this developer is trying to push the city for additional concessions to be able to make even more money to the detriment of the quality of life for the people that live here in Colwood. This developer does not live here in Colwood and he doesn't care about it in the long term. We understand that an independent environmental impact assessment has also not been done. That's amazing. This is supposed to be a cherished natural park in our city, but the city has not had an independent environmental impact assessment done to identify potential negative impacts of the proposed development or potential mitigation strategies. It's difficult to understand how this proposal ever got this far. Responsible course of action for the mayor and this council to take is to reject this proposal and to instruct the developer to abide by the city's OCP, abide by its existing bylaws and policies in the development of this property. Make no mistake, people are very concerned about whether or not we're following the OCP or not, because the OCP was supposed to provide the guidance for this city to follow and use to direct and guide development right through 2038. And, and the OCP actually commits this council and to protect parks like Havenwood Park. Knocking down trees right beside Havenwood Park takes away the windbreak. And just like we saw big trees fall down on residences when the city authorized the clear cutting of land to widen the intersection at Olympic View, same thing's going to happen in Havenwood Park. So it's, the city is supposed to be committed to preserve the park, and that's the mandate. And the city should not be confusing the issues with affordable housing. We have thousands of new housing being built in Colwood.
1 minute warning.
Thank you. And there are other opportunities instead of damaging a cherished park, which in fact, the OCP commits this council to preserve. Thank you very much.
I invite Jennifer Claxton to unmute and or turn on your video.
I'd squeal CM Hela, Chasemat Danetsnet, Chalasanet Wasanich, Mexico, Texas, Chile, France. It's a good day to see you all today, everyone. My Centrothan name is Chasemat, and my English name is Jennifer Claxton. I come from a long line of ancestors that have lived here for many, many years before me. And I would just like to start in a quick prayer just to have good feelings and honor everyone's perspective and points that have been brought forward so far tonight. Hails nakwahaha tito siem. Tween it all a tia enoch. E quam the centroth and squales. A quas tall. E is all quali. A tia haha tano. Haichka nakwahaha tito siem. What's that late nan the stewiata? Haichka to maini tain. Seatla e jotmok. Shy PCH and Salsach. Haichka de Elish Gleilnoch. Haichka de Elish Janu. Haichka de Elish Balakan. Haichka de Eli Elananak. And Haichka Hales Dito Siem. I just wanted to set some good feelings and to honor the land that we're on and to acknowledge and respect my mother, my father, my grandparents, my great-grandparents, my aunts, my uncles, my cousins, all of the trees, all of the fish, all of the flowers, all living things that all deserve respect and care. And just so I don't lose track here, I just want to say that I'm a proud member of the Wasanich Nation from Sayot village site. And Ensu Shwa Awas Che Owas Ensu Malaksa than Squale. If you don't use it, you're going to lose it. And you're going to forget your language. I use what I know each day so I don't forget. Also, so my children can hear what is supposed to be their native language. Halisit the squale. Let the language live. My Indigenous partner and I have been members of the Colwood Municipality since 2006. However, we moved when COVID hit back, and we've been here we moved over to Langford, so we're still in the West Shore. But we've been displaced from our traditional territories due to the lack of housing and resources in our own community. We have lived off reserve for the majority of our lives with our 3 children. Throughout our time living within the West Shore, we have participated and built relationships within a variety of sports and other community activities, including hockey, lacrosse, figure skating, BMX, soccer, mountain biking, climbing, hiking, and walking. Our family loves the outdoors and being a part of the community. Unfortunately, we have found over the years there is not enough protected land, including but not limited to Goldstream Provincial Park, our local waterways, and all old growth forests need to be protected. Ecological disasters and climate crises continue to increase and occur every day, including flooding, heat waves,
1 minute warning.
forest fires, oil spills, heavy cargo spills, ship spills, etc. My late grandfather, Earl Sr., shared with me we are heading in the right direction to the end. Centuries ago, our ancestors were worried about what would happen if settlers continue to take until there is nothing left. We are here now. This is what our ancestors were talking about. The time is now. There is no later or one day there will be. I envision greatness for Colwood, Langford, the West Shore, Victoria, Vancouver Island, Canada, and the world at large. Sustainability needs to be at the forefront of the planning for all communities, not only in Colwood, but in the West Shore, including but not limited to Langford, Machosen, Souk, and Malahat residents. Not only is the city of Colwood booming, its sister city of Langford was voted most resilient city and best place for work for 2nd year in a row. Sustainability needs to be at the forefront of planning any new or existing developments. Yes.
I'm sorry for interrupting. I'd like to ask council if they'd like to extend your time for speaking.
Yeah, so what we'll do for the speaker is if you don't mind staying online, we'll come back to you after everybody's had an opportunity to speak once, and then you can finish your statements.
Yes, perfect.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Hajikasiam.
Okay, can we take the next person from the room? Is there anyone else that would like to speak?
Good evening. I'm Susan Scott and I live at 3440 Hopwood Place. I've been a member of the community since late 2020. And of course, that's when things started to move a little bit more on the project. So while that didn't dissuade me from moving into the community, in which I am very blessed to be able to be a homeowner, I'm not an entitled person, but I do appreciate and I'm very grateful that I've been able to purchase a home in this community. Things have been even crazier since we've moved, so we all know that. I can appreciate the talk about increasing homes for people to be in. We've heard various people in approval of the proposal. I don't dissuade in terms of, I'm not trying to say no to the development in general or many of the people that are in my community. It's about doing it responsibly and doing it within line with the OCP. It's also in line with keeping things affordable. Having these 280 units is not going to fix the overall issue that doesn't just exist here in this community in BC, it's all over Canada. So I'm in the finance career, that's what my career is, so I can appreciate numbers, but I also appreciate solution-oriented thinking, and I don't think that that's being applied with regards to many of the concerns that have been brought forward. I won't go into detail. You have all been inundated so many times by the same people, by new people. You have all the facts. I'm just asking for whatever it is that you truly believe in to really dig deep, make really informed decisions. You have information too that is not factual, and you know it. December 13th, when I was here, I wasn't able to be at the last public hearing. Councillor Baxter spoke about the purchase of the land, or selling the land, and the damage had been done, which was a quote. That caught me because normally when decisions are being made, you're hopefully making good decisions and not referring it to being something that is damaged. I feel that the lack of compromise that has not, it just hasn't existed since this proposal has been brought forward. Dean Jansen at that same meeting was talking about, he referred to the fact about how things were, he was on the fence, and how it was unfortunate that the developer has not brought forward any ideas to show any ability to compromise from the condos versus, say, the townhouses that we've proposed, or keeping the development as is, which was the 21 single dwelling homes. I also was kind of baffled at that comment based on the fact that it is actually you that can make the decision to have the compromise occur. So while it hasn't been presented, it's certainly from the developer, it certainly can be mandated. So that's basically all I have to say. I really am concerned about the blasting. And if I am correct, at one time the blasting was proposed at 2 levels underground. That, from my recollect, was turned down, and now it's 3 and everything's okay. I don't understand that. I would like more clarification on that. I'm also within meters of the buffer.
1 minute warning.
Thank you. And I would like to know who is going to come and assess our homes for the potential damage that we are going to incur with this blasting. I'm very concerned about that. And I will take steps and hold people accountable, no doubt, if there is any type of damage to our home. And I just want respect. I feel that we've been giving respect to everyone concerned. We have not been able to, I even invited Perry to come and speak with us, despite the goings on that have been going for these last couple of years, and nothing. I did get a chance to meet Michael, and I appreciated, while I didn't always agree with all of his views, I still appreciated the fact that we had a conversation, and I still welcome that for people to come to our community and talk with us. Thanks for your time.
Okay, I'd like to invite the person attending with the phone number ending 098 to press *6 to unmute yourself. And you may address council. We can't hear you.
Hi, can you hear me?
There we go.
Hi, good evening. Thanks for letting me speak. My name is Christian Ravlik. I live at 3580 Wishart, and I'm in favor of the development. We must address the severe shortage of housing we're currently experiencing in both rentals and ownership. In the past 6 months alone, we've seen rental rates increase over 20%. Home ownership is becoming unattainable for many, and now the rental market is experiencing extreme pressure. As for the environmental impact, we all know a higher density project is much more environmentally friendly than single family homes. And our population is growing drastically. We must keep up by building. Increased traffic has been brought up numerous times this evening. It is one of the many new changes that comes with population growth. We live in the most desirable area of Canada, and many other people are wanting to join us here. Our population is continuing to grow, and there's nothing that's going to change it, and it's not going to stop. So we must continue building and adding homes for people to live in. Otherwise, we're going to have severe problems. Thank you for taking the time to listen to me.
Okay, is there anyone else in the room that would like to speak for a first time?
Hello. Okay. So my name is Mike Hallmark. I reside at 539 Delora Drive, and I just thank you again for the opportunity to speak. This evening, I'm speaking in favor of BC Alta Developments. Specifically, I'm speaking in their favor because of the absolute need for additional housing in our community. I see the lack of housing on a daily basis, and it's seemingly getting worse. The reality is things really need to change. The lineups that we see are not just people looking at homes and competing to purchase homes, but there's also competing rentals where people are bidding up the rentals. Basic rentals are being bid up higher than the landlord is asking, which is, I've never seen that in my entire life, which is hard to see when it's really hard to see when a good family has to be turned away because there's nothing available or it's too expensive because of the lack of availability. With more availability, the rent will be lower. It's just basic. Bidding on rentals only happens when people have no choice and will accept almost anything to put a roof over their family's head. Hopefully this gives an idea of the type of desperation that's out there. Based on the absolute need for additional housing, as a Colwood resident, a sane conclusion is to have a company building in our community that has a heart for it. Not take away, but add to the beauty and character of Colwood. And they've already proven that with their first project here. BC Alta's reputation does speak for itself. They will and can offer a well-planned out development that will benefit all of us who reside here. This company wants to build to enhance our community. They brought their vision and built it. As a resident, it always matters to know who is developing in your community. I've done considerable research on BC Alta. I've personally seen communities that they've built up in Calgary, and I can say firsthand knowledge that their intention is to build quality and not to compromise on the dollar and to see their vision come to fruition. I've dealt with exceptional builders and not so exceptional builders over the past 18 years, and I can say without compunction that this family business is as honorable as they come. Speaking in direct regards to Havenwood Park, our parks and green spaces absolutely have to be protected, but BC Alta is not building on a park. BC Alta is offering 62% of the land for green space. That's an additional 25% to the park, which I look forward to walking through. I think it should be recognized not many developers, if any, would give that amount of land based on the cost of land. The previously approved 21 home development offers a considerable less amount of green space. So if that is what the environmental impact argument is based on, this is the project to move forward with, not the single family homes. BC Alta owns private land next to the park, which they respect and are attempting to preserve as much as possible. The only reason I live in Colwood is because of the green, highly efficient solar powered home I live in. This community hasn't seen efficient homes like these ever. In their first project in our community, they brought something no one else has ever attempted because of the cost. Being environmentally conscious doesn't always pay when you're a builder, and it didn't for them. They lost money on that, but they chose to move forward with their green plan anyway. They don't build your average home. They invest their time and passion into their projects, and they see it as an extension of their family. Bottom line is the builder is trying to work with the community to create a small footprint and increase the prosperity. Colwood is an amazing place to live, and this project will make it even better. This is the right decision. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Okay, I invite Paul Schwab to unmute and or turn on your video.
Hi.
My name is Paul Schwab, and I live at 440 Regency Place. I stand with BC Alta to bring this multifamily housing project to life. Hallwood is in need of this type of growth. Many of the other housing projects in Colwood are single family homes. And the demand for housing here in Colwood significantly outweighs the supply available. I'm 27 years old, and there's little to no hope of home ownership for people my age, including myself. This project, with the combination of rentals and condos, is a great contribution to the community for someone to have housing in the first place and maybe even become a homeowner. And I believe that the City of Colwood staff have vetted and gone through all the information that the developer and their engineers have put together. And I'm not an environmental specialist by any stretch of the imagination, but I entrust that staff have done their job. And I thank you for your time.
Okay, is there any new speakers, first-time speakers in the room that would like to speak? Okay.
Sorry, sorry, I'll do second call in a second. So is there any first? Otherwise, I'll go to second and be like, yeah, come on up.
Good evening. John Briggs of 556 Delora. It's an interesting evening tonight. I'm going to start off with saying that I find this development before us this evening next to the natural park an exciting project. This project is being done on some very rough terrain. When it's built out, it'll be marvelous for the neighbors to call Havenwood their backyard. I have walked from Veterans Memorial Drive to Fulton Road many times, and the number of people that I've met on that track, the maximum has been 3. The choice is, do you wish to rent or buy as a starter residence, or do you want a retirement downsizer? Is it wrong to have a park out your back door? Of course. You must share with your neighbors next door that live in single-family homes. The people living in these homes just don't realize that while they're using the park themselves, they're likely to meet their newest best friend. Let's get on with moving ahead and putting the enormous amount of work that Colwood staff has done on this visionary project. Let's put it to good use and bury the thought of not in my backyard, and live a fuller life. I have a problem with a couple of things that were said tonight. I've never had a problem with sharing. That includes the sandbox when I was 6 years old. So why aren't we sharing the park? The word affordable housing does not belong in the year 2022. The price of a 2x4 last week was $10.18. Has anybody heard of a problem with Central Park, New York? What a concept. Let's say, welcome neighbor. Thank you.
I see a couple hands online as well, but I believe those are second-time speakers as well. Can I just confirm with staff?
I'm not sure if the phone number 156 is a first-time speaker or not. If you are, please unmute yourself by pressing *6.
Hello.
Yeah, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Perfect. My name is Jivan Sohi. I live at 3630 Ridgeview Terrace in Colwood, and I am in favor of this project. I feel that it's beneficial to have projects such as these to ensure the growth within this community and to bring it up to par with other municipalities. Colwood is growing, and building within this community is essential to address the low inventory of housing currently unavailable to those who are moving to Colwood. Also, with all due respect to those who are opposed, I feel that they haven't had to experience the difficulty of finding housing, so their sole focus is on the park and the preservation of it. However, new development is always beneficial as it updates the roads, the amenities, and also green space. It allows developers to not only build their projects, but also preserve the space around the development. I feel BC Alta will be mindful of protecting the park and beautifying it while addressing the housing issue. I not only live in Colwood, I own my own home in Colwood. I'm a business owner. I have been born and raised in Victoria, and I don't feel that densifying is a bad thing. I think it's needed, and I really feel that Colwood really will benefit from this project. Thank you.
Thank you. Again, looking for first time in the room. If there's anyone else, please step up.
Hello. Hello, everyone. Thank you for your time this evening. My name is Zoe Livia. I live at 100 Seghalley. I'm in favor of the proposal in front of us. My friends, my family, my loved ones, and my business all are in the Colwood vicinity. I'd like to just start out by saying that points noted in comments and letters submitted all have merit to varying degrees. The issue is, in my opinion, how do we allocate the level of importance to each? I submit that the determining factor must be measured against the ability to satisfy the greater good and the greater need. And in my opinion, the proposed application is in line with both the greater need in the community as well as the greater good for our housing population needs. Regarding population growth, we're expecting 25,000 more residents to move to Vancouver Island in the next 2 to 5 years. We've seen a 30-year high in migration to BC, while at the same time, we see a 30-year low in housing sales. As homes sale, tenants are being evicted. Tenants are the new unhoused population that we see. In the last financial quarter, 18,000 people moved here from other parts of the country, 5,000 from provinces, especially Alberta and Ontario. The housing need assessment reports show that we are years behind being remotely close to satisfying the housing needs and demands defined in the most recent reports they've put out. Within the next 6 years, we will need 2,640 properties available to house people, 1,031 apartments, 710 single-family homes, 790 townhomes. Colwood currently has 31 residents on the BC Housing waiting list for seniors, 43 families on the waiting list for housing. How are we going to fulfill the demand and the need? How are we going to stop the residents that are being evicted from not having housing? How are we going to help? Rentals, as noted already today, the rental availability is at 0.04%. I consider that to be zero in Colwood. We have local residents that need housing. Bear in mind that this is not a single developer's responsibility to carry the weight of our housing crisis, nor have the burden to fulfill it put upon a single developer. But Be that as it may, this developer in front of us has put forward a worthy proposition. And I do believe that it is a builder's responsibility to put forward quality of housing to uplift the community. In reviewing the application and adjustments accommodated during this process, I do believe that the developer is in line with this responsibility to meet housing needs and deliver a really good quality product. Also important to note, this project has taken more than 2 years, and I can just imagine how we could start to fulfill the population's need in the time spent with these, the process and the applications. In regards to Havenwood Park, it is an asset to the community. It is lovely, and I am a huge fan of nature. I spend my time in nature, and I find myself relaxing in nature and find value there. But I am satisfied with reading through the consultant submissions that the park would be protected in a high standard to the expectations put up. Your worship, Mayor Martin mentioned in a previous meeting that the park is for the people and meant to be enjoyed by the people, and I believe it will continue to be that. We must trust the consultants and the city
1 minute
officials
warning.
to show care for the park and the community. The proposal ahead of us limits carbon footprint, has solar panels, energy efficient housing, shows care for the park, provides housing for residents in a variety of ways, and is aesthetically pleasing. Mr. Soroya, he founded his development country 40 years ago and has a stellar history and resume. He is humble about accomplishments and proud of his contribution to the community. Current owners of his property live here and are speaking on his behalf. His sons work alongside him. He is a family man of integrity. He has a philanthropic heart, has donated funds and manpower to build housing for homeless and schools for children. Our focus is more broad than just this proposal. It is a housing need. My suggestion is to take immediate action to approve this project without further delay. We aim to attract and approve other builders with great reputations, and no, Mr. Soroya has just that. I am in favor of approving this, and I hope that you are as well. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Staff, it looks like there's somebody new online.
I'd like to welcome Mark Prince to unmute and or turn his video on.
Hello.
We can hear you.
I am in favor of this project. I live at 4105 Tuxedo Drive. After recently trying to find a place to live for the last year with me and my family, we were finally able to afford something. And also being a small business owner in Victoria, having employees leave Victoria and Colwood and Langford to move to Calgary or eastern provinces to afford to live is crazy. We need more housing in Colwood, in Langford, in Victoria, and everywhere. I am in favor of this project. Thank you.
Thank you. Looking into the room, is there any first-time speakers? If not, I'm just pausing. Yeah, then yes, I'll do a second call. So anyone wishing to speak a second time may come up now, John. And then staff, could we go to online after?
Thank you, Mayor. John English, 401 Proctor Place. I'm on the board of directors of the Royal Bay Homeowner Association. I can't, tonight's been very interesting. There are a large number of people speaking in favor of the project, but none of them spoke about how it aligns with the OCP, because it doesn't. So what they talk about is we need more housing. And I don't think that anybody who's been opposing this particular development has said that they disagree that we need more housing. We absolutely do need more housing. This council had agreed to give Seacliff increased density to increase tripled the density in the Royal Beach lands to 2,750 to 2,850 units. A lot of those are going to be multi-unit high rises. There's going to be a lot of residential rentals available. And I guess the thing that is a concern for me that I would ask all of you to just be wary of, let's not confuse the issues and the problems. The OCP commits us to preserve our natural spaces, and this is a natural space that needs to be preserved. The OCP also allows for a lot of new development that is happening and is going to provide a lot of new housing in Colwood. And that's happening, like there are new homes going up all the time. Now people are saying tonight that yes, but they're not rentals, or there aren't many rentals. There are lots of rental homes in Royal Bay. If you go and ask the people, they'll tell you that the renters are parking their cars on the streets. So I would ask council to be very careful and very thoughtful about this. Yes, we do need more residential housing in our community and on the West Shore. I don't think Colwood's going to fix the entire problem for the West Shore or for Victoria or for BC or for Canada. There are a lot of other players here. 280 units is not going to make a difference, but destroying the park will make a big difference. So I think the thing to do is to think about each problem and what will fix each problem, and not use rhetoric about the need for more housing to just ignore the official community plan, which commits the city council to preserve and protect Havenwood Park. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'd just like to remind those attending virtually that if you'd like to speak and you're attending by phone, to please press *9 to join the queue. And if you are attending through video, you can raise your virtual hand. I'll invite Jennifer Claxton to speak again.
Thank you very much. I'll just continue where I left off, and just wanted to say as well that it is truly evident that there is a real housing crisis, and I won't deny that as well. It's true. I lived in the same place in Colwood at 360 Whale Road for more than 10 years, and trying to find a place to move to because we needed to get out of that place was almost a miracle. That we found. We're literally the first person to come see the house that we're in now, and it is a rental unit. And I'm not going to call it affordable housing by one means. It's not affordable at all. But that's what I would propose is developments to use land that is already cleared rather than clearing land to be used, and to protect all of the natural systems that are already in place. There's a development here in Langford now where I reside at 2759 Safe Road in Langford, BC. And just this week, in the last 4 days, 8 houses have been listed for sale as part of a land assembly, and also on their own regard, due to the 200 plus unit that's going to be here on Scaife Road in between Scaife and Pete. And those, I believe, are going to be condos that are for sale. So if the real housing issue is affordable housing, why aren't the municipalities working together to purchase land that already has condemned houses on it, purchase those lots, work together as a community, and build some affordable housing, some apartments, some mixed housing units, low income, for single people, for mixed families, for those that have more health issues, mental health, or other disabilities. And so I'm not opposed to having more affordable housing. I'm opposed to having to destroy the land that does not need to be destroyed, because enough of it already is. I don't know what the percentage is of ancient old growth forests that we have left here, but it's very low, like extinct almost. So yeah, the issue here is about protecting the land. Do we want to be here in another 20, 30, 50 years? Because if we keep doing this, we're not going to be here anymore. So I just wanted to get that out of the way here. Sustainability needs to be at the forefront of planning any new or existing developments. All types of infrastructure and development needs to come from a place of wellness, longevity, sustainability, including respecting and acknowledging the land that we reside on, as well as having Indigenous knowledge reflected when planning on any type of development. Personally, I would love to see more partnerships between First Nations and municipalities. During our time living on the West Shore, I have yet to hear about this happening. We need to acknowledge the village sites and for all people to work together to want a better, healthier, more sustainable community for everyone. This needs to start in our own backyard. The basis of the book titled The Earth's Blanket is based on traditional teachings for sustainable living. Indigenous people don't want to sit down and have a debate. We want to sit down and have a discussion with all parties present, just like we are here tonight, having all levels of community, all levels of governance, municipalities working together. Colwood is not separate from Langford, or it's not separate from Souk or the Malahat. We're all one. And the same with the city of Victoria and Saanich and all the municipalities.
1 minute warning.
Thank you very much. So I just wanted to say here that it just feels really good to come together like this. And I feel like this needs to happen more often. There is a housing crisis. There's lack of protected land, there's lack of affordable housing, there's lack of housing for single people, there's lack of housing for families, and there's considering there's a shelter at the City of Victoria, that Topaz Park, where anyone that is houseless is able to go shelter there for the night. And so, I don't know, there's more that needs to be discussed. There's more of a real issue here. And we need to protect the land that we have left, because if you keep cutting down the trees, those are the roots. Those are the roots that hold everything together, and all the ecosystems and everything working together. If you keep killing everything, that's what the floods happen. That's why the rock slides happen, mudslides, everything. You know, it's all right here. It's all. Thank you very much. Thank you for listening, and Haitchikasiyam.
Thank you.
Yeah, please. Oh, I'm sorry. Let's just get, sorry, people can't hear you if we don't have the mic on. So if you could just hit the mic. There you go.
Yeah, just to reinforce what the issue is. I think everybody here tonight, I know nobody in this community that would argue we don't need more housing. That is not the issue. The issue is where and how. And so it's up to council to make that decision. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Just before you leave, sorry, could you just say your name and address for us?
Sorry, yeah, Jerry Kelly, 816 Glassview Lane.
Great, thank you. Let's go back to online, to people second time speaking in person.
Thank you. I have, I believe, a first time speaker, phone number ending 657. If you press *6, that will unmute you.
Hello?
We can hear you, thanks.
Hi there. Thanks for your time, Council. My name is Dave Kao. I reside at 3456 Hopwood Place, and I'm opposed to this proposal. I'd like to say first off, I know speaking with neighbors in the community, I think we all can agree there is a housing crisis. I think, you know, it's, as a community, it is a solution that we all need to do together, whether it's Colwood or Langford or Machoz and Victoria. It is definitely, we have to do it all together. I think it's very important that we have further development, but we have to do it responsibly. I'm new to the area for 3 years ago, and I've never even looked at an OCP before prior to moving here. And that was part of our research to buying our home. And we trusted that the city would go by what we found with the OCP. And I think having a 6-story condo or apartment building over this park is not responsible. I think development is key, but we definitely need to do it in a more thoughtful way. And this is something that we can't take back 10 years from now if we proceed with this proposal. That is all. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Anyone in the room wishing to speak a second time, please step.
John Briggs, 556 Delora. Just a thought here, nobody's brought it up, but council, along with all the other councils south of the Malahat, are going to have to use the word highest and best use for any property that approaches them for rezoning. And I think this property here is highest and best use at this point in time. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's go back online.
Thank you. I have Beth Peterson, if you'd like to speak.
Hello, yes. Again, my name is Elizabeth Peterson of 3262 Zapata Place. I just wanted to respond to several comments made about the need for housing. I certainly agree there's a need, and I believe that single family homes is not the way to go to satisfy that need. But as I stated earlier, I really feel strongly there are so many areas of Colwood that have old housing stock on large lots that have all the required infrastructure and are situated on transportation corridors that are being inefficiently used. For example, there's a lot of large lot single family homes right next to Colwood Corners. It honestly, it just incenses me that our supposed solution to the housing crisis is to decimate our forests rather than incentivizing development in areas that are already developed. And it just seems crazy to me that it's more profitable to develop hillsides with challenging elevations and features and so forth than redeveloping underutilized existing urbanized areas. I guess that's a municipal policy issue or a zoning issue, but I just don't understand that. And I wholeheartedly agree with the comments of Jennifer Claxton, who just spoke. And the last thing I just want to say is, for clarity, when I first moved here, I was a renter for several years, and I had a difficult time finding affordable housing. So I understand what that's like. Now, as a homeowner, I face the struggle, like so many of us, with making my mortgage payments and property taxes and so forth. And I still oppose this development. So thank you very much.
Thank you. I will go back to the room. Is there anyone wishing to speak for a second time? Seeing none. Yeah. Oh, no. Yep. Please. There's two.
Hi, I guess, sorry, it's Kim Jordison, 3429 Hopwood Place. I just want to say that I see Langford building and building and building high rises and apartments, and a lot of them are empty, and a lot of them change hands quite often, and it's because it's not affordable. So if Colwood is going to follow Langford and start building all these high rises and stuff to try and fix the affordability housing issue, it's not working. It's not working there. It's not going to work. We need affordable housing. Affordable housing is $1,400 a month instead of $2,600 a month. It's affordable. That's what people are missing here. You can't just keep building high rises and hoping that's going to be the solution to house people. And I'm sitting here wondering, when all the high rises are built and there's no more room left and we've taken every tree that we possibly can, are people going to start knocking on single family homeowner doors and saying, we're going to take down your house because we can fit 1,600 people in this building that we're going to put on your land? Like, where does it end? This is not Colwood's problem entirely. This is the problem all over Canada. It's not just here.
And I wanted to say that there's a caller that called in and said that people that have homes, they're only concerned about the park because they're homeowners. I have children. I have children that are 21 years old. They're still living with me. I have an older child that moved out when she was 17 because at that time she could. They're still at home with me. They plan to be at home with me because there is a housing issue. There's a housing issue. There's an affordability issue. So I understand it just perfectly, just like the person that lives in an apartment or whatever. I own a home, but it doesn't make me not understand these issues. And I just had one little comment I just wanted to say. I wonder if Lev Dodd called into the Oak Bay Municipal Council meeting when they shot down the development. I wonder if he calls into all council meetings, or if perhaps maybe there's a reason that he's so-called interested in calling in tonight. I wonder if Harry.
I'm not seeing anybody online. For a second time in the room, please come on up.
Hello again. It's Zoe from 100 Zag Alley. Okay, a couple of points to unpack here that I would just like to share from my opinion. I know we are all aware of this, that we are all living in uncharted waters and territory, and we've seen things happen in our world that we have never experienced in the past. When catastrophic change falls upon us, we have to adapt to what's going on. We have to pivot. We have to make changes to what the plan originally was. And I believe that's what we have in front of us here, and that this proposal would be in line with the changes that we need to see. When it comes to the official community plan, I mean, when you think of people in need of housing and an official plan to protect the community, I mean, people are a huge component of the plan for the community. And I think that kind of should be going without saying, with due respect to nature. I submit that we all live in properties that were once uninhabited and undisturbed pieces of nature, and yet we find ourselves happy where we live generally. If you live in a home today and are benefiting from a development, I don't think it's fair to put a really harsh stance against new development and allow people to have that same luxury or the opportunity. I trust the housing needs assessment that's been done up and down the island, and in reviewing that assessment and speaking to people that have put that assessment together, the numbers state every community on this island is 4 to 5 years behind the housing need at the time it was produced. That is before this crisis came to us. I know people that are living in their cars that have a job but cannot secure rental housing. I know seniors that have to downsize for what they are living through as their body needs change. And there is no real place that they can go to in their own community of Colwood to safely downsize into an area that they're familiar with, that their family lives in. Are we going to be displacing seniors to other parts of this island because we can't accommodate a need for their housing? It is a serious issue. We need housing that isn't dependent on stairs. We need housing that keeps our senior population in the community. It is good for our children, our youth, for us, for all of us. And I feel like I'm on the verge of that senior pool. So I'm also speaking selfishly for myself. Tenants outbidding one another, it's real. You can suppose it's not, but being in the industry and dealing with people, with tenants, people are living in their cars. People are trying to live in short-term rentals and not able to afford it. The mandate now isn't just affordable housing. Honestly, it's housing. We can't control the pricing that's out there, but the lack of inventory is what is helping to push the prices up. If we had more housing, we would have a more stable market. It would impact prices, in my opinion. I trust you as council members. I trust that you have reviewed the proposal many times. I trust that you've reviewed what the consultants have put forward. I trust that you know what's going on in the world. I trust that you hear from people that are in need of housing. And I trust that you will make a great decision for this community, for the residents, for everyone involved. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to speak for a second time? And I'm just confirming with staff there's nobody online. So which means I will call for a third time now. Is there anyone wishing to speak? This is your last opportunity. Confirming there's no one online. Still not. Okay. Not seeing anyone else wishing to speak. So being that there is no further input, I will entertain a motion to adjourn this public hearing. Moved by Councillor Kobayashi, seconded by Councillor Baxter. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in opposition? Nobody opposes. This meeting is over. Thank you.